Yes, blue and white forever. Sweet treats and remembering some sweet memories of my friend Jerry Stovall. We're in the East End, which he loved, this part of East Liverpool. And the former mayor, Ryan Stovall, is here, my lifelong friend, his nephew and his two beautiful daughters, of course, Jessica and Savannah. And, a lady that he spent a lot of time with, obviously, their mother, Susie, and yes, his significant others for decades, Nancy Atkins. Just really special people. A lot of folks coming in here tonight remembering Smoke, and I thought I'd take a little bit of time and do this video that will let the rest of Potter Nation see, especially with their all-school reunion just days away. But let's talk about your uncle and how he really, to you and your brother Mark, when you lost your dad, kind of became like your adopted dad, didn't he?
Yeah, Uncle Smoke was always around. Just 2 days before he had passed away, I stopped over and had lunch with him, and we were sitting there joking, and it just come as a surprise and shock what happened. And, but yeah, when my dad passed away my senior year in high school, Uncle Smoke stepped up and was always there if I needed a call. Helped out.
Yeah, he really is responsible for everything, and I'll get to that in a moment. But let's talk about your dad. And he always talked about his children, absolutely loved them. He loved kids in general, and any kid who needed help in this part of the community, he always was there to be a shoulder to lean on and an ear to listen to. But talk about your dad, Jessica.
Yeah, it was really
Special, huh?
It was special. Like
we
got to spend he came over to my house for Christmas Eve, the day before he passed away.
Always good for a big hug, right?
Yes.
And your dad and I were a lot alike, and we were both like big kids. We never really grew up.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it. But that's what I loved about your dad. He just had that spirit, right, Savannah? He just loved life, didn't he? Talk about your dad a little bit, please.
Yeah. He would do anything for us. All we had to do is call him.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. He took us anywhere we needed to go. We'd let him know.
How much did he love East Liverpool sports? Let's talk about something to make us smile here a little bit, because we're all going to start crying here in a moment. But he loved East Liverpool sports, didn't he?
He did, yes.
And I loved your dad, you know that.
Yes.
We spent so much time together, and you were there, and your brother, and so many people along the way. I tell people this all the time. I had a longer relationship with him than any of my female relationships. We were together forever. I mean, I was thinking after he passed, and I was telling Nancy that every year for 8 months, from August till March, 3 nights a week,
Together.
yeah, for over 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and I learned to dress like him, act like him, wanted to be like him. He taught me all the rules of everything in the way of sports because he just was so passionate about it.
Yeah.
He taught me about the history of East Liverpool. He introduced me to just about everybody I know. And if it wasn't for him coming into Wool High, as we used to call it, WOHI, when our then general manager said, look, I want you and Rob to do the games, I probably would have never even got into sports. But he leaned over the console. I was doing the afternoon show, and I muted the monitor, and I said, what did you just say? He said, we're doing the game Friday night. I said, what do you mean, we are doing the game? He said, you're going to do play-by-play, and I'm going to be your analyst. And here it is now. I mean, I've been in this business over 40 years, and most of it's been because of Smoke and doing sports, right?
Yeah.
What do you remember about us, the dynamic duo?
Oh, let's see.
Remember, this is a PG show today.
Well, most of my memories are, like you said, you have basketball season and football season, and of course, I was the pesky nephew.
We loved you.
That would, run and get you your drinks or whatever, if it was the basketball game or football game, come up and help out. And I'm sure bug you a little bit.
That's okay.
And that, but yeah, I mean, that's what I remember. I do remember, I don't know how I told this story earlier. I don't have any idea how I talked Uncle Jerry and my cousin John daily.
Right.
And they let me go to Johnstown with them to a basketball tournament. I was like 14. I have no idea how they even allowed me to go.
Well.
But we had a good time, and it was just, that's one of those memories that I always have.
Listen, Smoke did a lot of things. His nickname, obviously, Smokey, for those of you who may be hearing about Jerry Stovall for the first time. But he really became a, I think, fine-tool broadcaster. If you think of some of the ones in this industry that have made it because they're colorful characters and they always brag about their hometown. This was long before ESPN had these personalities, and going back to Bob Prince, who's a major personality who never was ashamed to let his feelings know how much he loved the Pirates. Smokey was everything that East Liverpool is. When you think East Liverpool sports, East Liverpool Hall of Fame, something he was proud about, you think of your uncle, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
there's two names that come to mind, and they're both big. It's my Uncle Smoke and Digger Dawson.
Yeah.
When you think Liverpool sports, that's who you think of.
So Jess, talk about
Yeah.
your dad, why really it's so important to talk about his legacy concerning,
It is.
especially football, right?
It is. The Hall of Fame
Oh.
banquet is Friday.
Right.
And we're going and they're honoring him with a plaque for all his work with the Hall of Fame.
I might not have the magic that I once had, but if there was ever anybody who should eventually end up in the East Liverpool Hall of Fame, it is Jerry Stovall. He truly was all about the blue and white. You know, and I'll tell you something else too. He was such a tactician. His handwriting was immaculate. I basically took a program and just started talking. Jerry had everything mapped out, would spend hours putting all this
Yeah.
stuff together. And what amazed me was I expected everybody else that I worked with the rest of my life to do the same thing. All I had to do was show up and say good evening, and he had everything ready to go. But I just want you to know that even though we kind of became separated by years and time, and it happens to everyone, you know, I had a chance to catch up with him about a year before his passing, and it was one of the most enjoyable times I've ever had. I've always had love for your mother, and obviously Nancy, and these, meaning Ryan and Mark and the whole Stovall family, and all the cousins that are connected to that name on both sides. It is a sad day, but I know this. If he would want us to do anything, he would want us to do this, promote this part of East Liverpool. Why was it from Mulberry Street to the state line? It really was, you're in Jerry Stovall country. Even when the East End Bill Booth team played, he would root for them like he did the East Liverpool Potters. Why did he love the East End so much, Ryan?
East End is almost its own city.
Right.
You know, and maybe not so much now, but from years back, you know, I can remember my parents and the Yannis that just left. You know, they could tell you stories. Everything you needed. You never had to go downtown.
No.
So East End of East Liverpool was its own city, and Uncle Jerry was a advocate for for that. He liked to talk about East End, and loved nothing more than to see it come back, and things happen.
Well, listen, I know he loved this all-school reunion that was started by Digger many years ago, and he would have been at every event. So just kind of keep him in your heart, and never forget the man that really never will forget all of you, I'm sure, through eternity, because he had that much love for this town. And I miss him all the time. I think about him all the time, and I've been thinking about him since the last time I saw him and long before that, because he was a guy that once you met him, you never forgot him. So Savannah, much love. Jessica, much love. Sue, of course, and your mom, and Ryan and Mark, your family, and Nancy and everyone, and this great community of East Liverpool. Thank you for embracing me for decades, but more importantly, thank you to Jerry Stovall for, in the end, making me a better person, and I will never forget my time with him. So until we catch up with you later, back in the home office of Monacan, of course, on the radio tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. at KDKA, from all of us here in the town that Mr. Stovall kind of made famous, the East End of East Liverpool, Ohio. It's your Pratt Pack. Good night, everyone. Rest well, Smoke.